This is music, and this is the Quest for Sabbat. Okay, so I have a massive list of releases I would like to pick up. They're not grails or anything, but nonetheless, I like to kind of go off on a quest every now and then, pick out a couple of them, see if I can find some copies here in Denmark, because shipping is obviously cheaper. And yeah, this time I picked the two classic Sabbat albums, the British Sabbat band, the two classics, and wanted to see if I could find some copies of those here in Denmark. And I actually managed to find a seller that had both copies, both albums, and I got as far as placing them in my basket and just waiting to pull the trigger the following month. But then I get a message that they've just been sold, so they've removed them from the basket. So okay, I try another seller that had a copy of one of the albums. I order that along with some other things. They get back to me. They say, we just sold the Sabbat album. Just sold it. But if you want to, we can ship you the other things and you don't have to pay for shipping. So I think that's actually pretty good service. That seller was called Basserne, by the way. So I went along with that, of course. Moving on to another seller. Now we just sold them. Another seller. We just sold them. Another seller. Just sold them. So I think there's someone right here in my backyard, probably a collector, vacuuming up all the copies of those two albums here in Denmark. So now I think I have to move fast. I can't wait until next month. So I managed to find a copy of one of the Sabbat albums that a seller had here in Denmark, a seller called Heljon. I bought from this guy before. Excellent service, great seller. So I buy that one along with some other things. The other album, nope, no copies left in this country. So I end up having to buy one all the way from Greece. I bought it along with some other things again from a seller in Greece called Marco, and that was actually also a very good experience. So yeah, I would say crazy quest. I managed to find what I wanted along with some collateral damage. And I got to buy stuff from 3 great sellers, so I think that's a positive thing. Let's get down to business. Up first, some kind of a hard rock, 100 Hours by A.N.D. Just tasty hard rock, the way a lot of people like it. Up next, Industrial by Epidemic, supposed to be thrash metal. I don't know if it's industrial thrash metal, to be perfectly honest. There's a couple of bands out there called Epidemic, and I have an album by another band, I think it is, called Epidemic, but that's also a thrash metal band. I think this is thrash. Up next, some crossover, Excel, and it's called Blaze Some Hate. Looks like this. Do like Excel, and they're quite groovy style of crossover thrash. So this here is, I think it's just an EP, but nonetheless, it's good stuff. So I look forward to spinning that one. Up next, some kind of hard rock, traditional metal, Fortune Making Gold. I really love this artwork, and also love the sort of the layout of this cover art. So that's great. The next one, back to the world of thrash metal, Headhunter. It's called A Bizarre Gardening Accident. But as far as I understand, it's kind of thrash speed metal. So there you go. Up next, one that was also actually on my list of things I wanted to pick up. Hate, Fear, and Power by Hirax. More crossover thrash. Hirax, they kind of become increasingly just all-out thrash, but this is, I think at least, quite crossovery. And that was kind of like pretty neat that I managed to pick that one up too, because it was on my list, as I said. Up next, Burn This Record by The Lead. I'm not gonna burn this record. This is also crossover thrash, probably more hardcore-y, I would say, but it still has some thrashy elements. And yeah, here is A History of a Time to Come by Sabbat. This was the one I think I picked up from Helljohn. Glad to finally have a copy of this on vinyl, so that is absolutely great. The other one is, of course, Dream Weaver, and that was the one I picked up from DeMarco. So yeah, crazy quest, but I got there, and not only that, I actually landed another one that I wanted. Saga, and what is it? This one is called, it has like a long title, The Beginner's Guide to Throwing Shades. And I actually have not heard this album, so I'm very excited to listen to this. I do like Saga. I have to say I prefer their more recent stuff, because it's, to me, that's kind of progressive metal, progressive hard rock. And you know what? There's actually another album that was on my list of albums I wanted to pick up, and that's this one here, World's Got a Problem by Tortoise Corpse. Sadly, there's a price sticker right in this dude's face. I'll see if I can remove it. And it says $49.95. Stereo Studio. That was a record store, and they've gone out of business. It was kind of like a chain. They went out of business a long time ago. $49.95. That's really cheap for an album, but obviously that's not what this one costs anymore. But yeah, very cool to have this one. And up last, Stars on Thrash, a pretty cool compilation, which features, among others, you have Flotsam and Jetsam, you have Mucky Pop, DRI, Pestilence, Toxic. I'm just gonna list all the bands on here. Paradox, SOD, Acrofed, Gothic Slam. I don't know those guys actually, so I look forward to checking that out. You got a live Slayer song. You have Sacred Reich, Snow White. That's an excellent female-fronted kind of speed thrash metal band. Cat, Atrophy, and Hades. So I think that's a pretty cool collection of bands here on Road Runner. Very cool. So yeah, happy to have. Yeah, I went off on a quest. I found the two grails, the two things I wanted, and I actually managed to find two other things on my stuff I want to pick up list. So they're not, again, I have to emphasize, they're not grails, because I'm not sure I personally operate with the concept of a grail, to be perfectly honest. But there were things I wanted to pick up, and I finally did, and I managed to pick two other things on that list up. So to me, it ended up being a success story. Thanks for watching.